morning, Geraldine. Good
afternoon.
No, it's good afternoon. It is good afternoon. How are you?
Somewhere good morning in the world, but it's good afternoon.
It's, well, like they
In
say
the
when you're
sunny
having
Leicester.
a tipple, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
1 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
But I don't really like that.
So welcome to episode 5, season 2 of Lawfully Yours.
Episode sunk.
Oh, get you. Didn't know you were bilingual.
I know. It's good, isn't it? I have many qualities.
Well, some too sensitive to mention, I would suggest. So how's your week been?
Really good.
Yeah?
So yesterday, I look after my grandson on Tuesdays.
Of course.
And I went to a new place called Petite Street Village.
Right.
It's in Oadby.
Oh, okay.
It is amazing. Basically, it's a big room, and they section the room into different things. So there was a cafeteria, there was a hairdressing salon, there was a vet's.
For kiddies, you mean?
Yeah, for kids.
Right, okay.
Yeah, not for adults.
Well, I don't know. No.
Construction site.
It's a bit like circuit training, but for kids.
Yeah.
How cool
Oh
is
my
that?
God, it was amazing.
Did he love it?
He loved it. He wouldn't go. The first room he went into was the cafeteria, and he wouldn't leave it for half an hour.
Aw.
Oh my God.
Has he got a little kitchen at home and stuff?
No. But I might get him one for Christmas. I haven't told his mum and dad yet.
Oh, don't they?
Because they don't like big things, obviously cluttering up the
Well,
house
yeah.
and stuff. So, but it was amazing.
Aw.
And the good thing about it is, so I've taken him to soft plays before, and the adult pays the same price as the child. But here, the child is $7.50, the adult is £2,
Oh, wow.
and it's an hour and a half. Oh no! It was so much fun.
You going there again then?
Absolutely. And then after that, because we wanted to go for lunch, after that, we went to Pembury Farm. I think it's
Yeah,
called.
I've been there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's amazing
it is
as
nice,
well.
isn't it?
And they let him eat his own sandwiches and stuff as well.
As opposed to what?
Buying theirs.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant like kids weren't allowed to eat there.
No. Yeah. So that was really good. I like that.
Aw.
What about you?
And what? Hang on a minute. Hang on.
Oh.
What are you going to do? Because you have him every Tuesday, don't you?
Yeah.
And when's the last one?
Yesterday.
Oh, it was yesterday. So how are you going to? Obviously, you're not having him anymore because your son and daughter are having another baby.
Yes.
So she's going to be able to look after
Yeah.
him. So how are you going to cope without your Tuesdays with your grandson, or are you going to do something else with him?
See, I've had this discussion with my fiance. It's like, why don't we take Tuesdays as a day to do
I agree.
something?
Yeah.
And I've been meaning to sign up to this personal trainer and get my fitness and everything sorted, but I'm not. I'm going to work.
And when are you going to see your grandson?
Well, because I did have this discussion with my daughter-in-law. I was a bit worried I'm going to lose my bond with him and stuff like that. She goes, absolutely not. She goes, I'll bring him round when she's on maternity leave. She goes, I'll still bring, and I'll see him anyway, but she will bring him
very
round
different.
with the baby and stuff like that. But it won't be the same because I won't have that one-to-one.
Yeah.
So yesterday, I took him to the Petite Street Play
Easy for you
Village.
to say.
Then we went to the farm. Then we were in the car and he had his nap in the car. Then we went to Foss Park. And we did some shopping, bought some bits for him, Jay, Chris, and that lot. And then we went to the coffee shop, and it was amazing. A lovely last day. I say last day, but
bless
you know what I mean.
Well,
Yes.
I've
Go on
been
then.
not doing anything as exciting as that, I have to say, because obviously, as you know, our house is on the market. We're looking to move.
Yes.
And we're moving out of the area completely.
You're going. You're deserting us all.
Yeah. But I'll still be around. I'll still be around. You won't get rid of me that easy. But it's been quite a. So the house that we live in at the moment has been in my family for 40 years. So it was my mum and dad's property. After mum died, I bought the property from my dad and lived there with him for a while and sort of did some work and stuff. And then sadly dad passed away, and so there's loads and loads of memories there for me. And I always knew it was going to be difficult, and obviously the actual physical leaving that house for the last time is going to be so painful. But it's been quite. I don't know how to put it. Cleansing.
Oh, okay. Doing all the tidying.
Yeah, because we've gone through each room, and put stuff on Marketplace that we don't use anymore, chuck stuff away, box stuff up that we don't need, we can donate, etc. And it's been really, really cleansing. And as part of that, I've also cleared out my wardrobe, and my wardrobe is like squashed together like this.
Yeah.
And now I can see everything, and I've got so much more to wear, even though I've got less clothes.
Yeah.
Anyway, part of the sorting stuff out, we went in the loft. My God, why do we keep stuff in the loft? We've got photographs in there that I don't know who the hell they are. We've got stuff in there. It was so funny going through some of the, when the kids go to school and they draw pictures and stuff, going through those, and we were just laughing at some of the spellings and things.
Yeah.
But it's been real cleansing, and I've
kept that sort of stuff?
Yeah, we have scaled them down quite a lot, because literally you've got two kids going through school for 16 years, and it's a bit.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so we've kept, and you have duplicate photos and stuff like that, and obviously all your photos now are on your phone or whatever. So it's been really good, but I can guarantee you that when we do actually sell the house and move, there's still going to be loads of stuff, because your whole life you just keep stuff and then you add to it, don't you?
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is mad. It's mad. How are you getting on with the darker mornings and stuff?
Right.
Changing the subject completely.
No,
I reckon I've got sad,
Do you? You can get a lamp for that.
You can.
Probably other things as well, but you can definitely get a lamp for it.
I might do.
No, I'm all right. I would say I prefer the winter, but you know what I'm like with the heat. When we have the extreme heat that we have, I can't cope with it. I just
I agree. I think there's got to be being a Karen now. It's got to be a happy medium.
This autumnal weather.
Yeah,
this is nice.
I think it's just in the summer you wake up and it's light and it feels natural to wake up, and then your alarm goes off. It's like, I'm just so comfortable.
I know. Yeah.
And then when it's darker in the evenings, and I just want to put my pajamas on, shut the curtains, watch telly.
I guarantee you, when we leave here, I'm going to go and get some bits of food and stuff, go home, because I haven't got to go out again and put my PJs on.
And you'll work in your PJs?
I'll work in my PJs.
Love it.
It's so comfortable. Because I'm thinking, I could get changed, and I used to get changed and put, like, I don't know, leggings on or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm only going to have to take them off and put pyjamas on.
Yeah.
So I might as well get in their comfort.
I saw a thing on, I don't know if it was LinkedIn or Facebook, and it did make me smile, because obviously since COVID, most people now are either hybrid working or they're working from home, and a lot of client interviews, meetings, etc. on video. And I saw this post on one of the social media platforms, and it said, we all agreed to come into the office today in what we would wear for a Teams meeting. And you've got people like in a suit and tie top and then pyjama bottoms.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh my God, that's so true.
It really is though, isn't it?
Can you imagine you're like a court hearing and the judge can see you all made up. You got your fluffy slippers on at the bottom. I mean, he probably has as well, to be fair.
Yeah, but I have. I must admit, I am guilty of that when I've had court hearings before. Top half in my suit and then bottom half's in my pyjamas or whatever.
Love it.
Just why not?
What a time to be alive.
Isn't it?
Talking about work.
I was going to say I've had another no inquiry.
Okay, I have too, actually.
Have you?
Yeah.
Not the same as mine.
No,
probably not.
It.
No. So this was a wife, and she asked, to what extent will the assets of the marriage be shared? Because she's been a stay-at-home mum for 20 odd years.
Oh, interesting.
And got a couple of kids, so she wants to know, obviously, about the assets of the marriage and everything. The thing is, like I said last time as well, I could do a whole episode on this, but I'm just going to give you some bullet points.
Okay.
Things that people need to think about. So because she's stayed at home, and it was no doubt a mutual decision between the two of them.
As tends to be the case.
Yeah.
If you're bringing it
but what they have to think about, what she particularly has to think about, is that she has a loss of potential earnings.
Yeah.
Loss of potential pension.
Yeah.
Can't read my writing. Loss of potential career.
Yeah.
She needs time to become financially independent because she's been reliant on her husband. Possible spousal maintenance, which is similar to child maintenance, but it's for the spouse. And then you have to look at the needs of the parties. So there's an awful lot there.
There's a lot of variables, isn't it?
So when I get asked that question, or like, oh, what am I entitled to? People expect you to just give an answer, and you can't. There's so much to think about.
And it's very case specific, isn't it? Because what might apply to one.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably a common misconception. You know, it tends, I'll generalise it, because it tends to be the husband that's working and the mum that's at home with the kids, but it tends to be the working parent, if you well, that she hasn't contributed anything.
Exactly.
You know, and monetary maybe, but
yeah, her other contributions are exactly the
can't
same
put a price on it, though,
as financial contributions,
Absolutely.
especially in long marriages.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. What about you? What was yours then?
So, I mean, we have lots of inquiries, and some you can sort of give an immediate answer. No, you can't.
Yeah.
You know. But what's definitely becoming more common is neighbours falling out. Various things. It can be, you know, they've put a new fence up and they've put it 6 inches over the wrong way, or, you know, they're blocking my access, etc. But one that came to mind, particularly because I've got a very big case going on at the minute that's very similar to the inquiry that I've had, but the inquiry's on a much smaller scale. This lady had been approached by her neighbour to say that her sort of land is at one height, and then there's a fence between the two properties, and the neighbouring land is slightly lower. And the neighbour has come to her and said, your land is bulging and it's causing damage to the fence. It's going to cause damage to my property. And she said, well, am I responsible? It's not my fence, it's his fence, etc. And as I say, I've got a very similar case going on at the moment on a much bigger scale. And it's interesting because you'd think the title deeds to the property would be very clear in terms of who is responsible.
Yeah.
But it's not always the case. So what I've said to her, and what I would say to anybody, is the first step you need to do is look at your title documents. It won't necessarily say who is responsible for the fence, but it will say who is responsible, whether it's joint or individual, for maintaining the boundary.
Okay.
And when there's a difference in levels, that responsibility tends to be shared because it affects both properties. But there may be a higher burden on one neighbour if they've got more sort of overspill, etc. And the title documents will normally say whether there's any covenants, and that can be a positive covenant, so you've got to do this as part of your ownership of this land, or it can be restrictive, so you mustn't do this. And on the bigger case that I've got, that's very clear in the title documents. But what we are arguing is that the cause of the failure of the dividing land is because of what the neighbour has done or failed to do.
Right.
So whilst ultimately my clients are responsible for that boundary,
they've made it
exactly.
worse.
So again, like you, it's not simply a case of yes, you're responsible, no, you're not responsible. You know, there's a lot that you have to look at, and I think sometimes there's a misconception that you should just be able to give a.
Well, I thought that because thinking about that, we have not an issue, but the fence between our property and next door neighbours, I would say needs. Not necessarily placing, but needs repairing. And I'm like, well, because I'm at the end.
Yeah.
So my responsibility is the left, which is the wall. So therefore, the neighbour's responsibility is the fence.
Yeah.
And it's just made me think maybe it isn't that straightforward then.
Look at your title documents as the first, because it normally says on the attached to the title documents, you'll have a plan. And there's normally like a little T. And if the T is facing inwards on your property, against the boundary, that's your responsibility, because yours is quite a modern house, isn't it? So it should be. Historically there wasn't that definition there. So
I've seen, so we often have to get office copy entries to show who's the legal owner of the property, and I'll always see there's loads of different paragraphs before you get down to the property register bit.
That's
and
right.
I just ignore those because I just look at them and like, Jesus, some of them really old as well.
But that's the sort of thing that we have to look at when there becomes a dispute. So.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's interesting, very interesting.
That's why you get a lot of neighbour disputes then, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think sometimes people throw a lot of money at
things that they shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, my son-in-law, because he lives with us, he was like, why don't you just go round to the neighbour and just say, the fence needs repairing, we'll go half each.
Absolutely.
I was like, actually, that's quite a good suggestion.
And
but part of me feels like,
I know,
I don't want to because it's not my responsibility.
I know.
So I've just left it for now.
I think sometimes that is the best approach and the easiest way to get it, because you're both going to benefit from the new fence, aren't you?
I definitely wouldn't. I don't think I would throw money at a legal dispute over a fence. I think that's just a bit.
Well, let's hope
silly.
not. Yeah.
But I suppose it depends, because if my neighbour turned around to me and said absolutely not, then I'd have to pay for the whole thing, and I'd have to get his permission.
Yeah.
So it could be really difficult.
It could be, and you know, a lot of time it comes down to principle.
Principles are costly.
This is what I said before.
Principles are very costly.
You done any jazzes this week?
Yes, I have.
Go
I'm
on.
going to get my book out because I've wrote it in
Is it
Higgs.
a long one.
No, it's not a long one, but I just need to remember it. Yeah. Anyway, so
just for the sake of our listeners, if this is the first time you've tuned in, jazzes are things that Geraldine does that are sometimes unbelievably silly.
Stupid.
So we call them jazzes.
Yeah.
It's a bit like your character, isn't it? A bit like chaotic and clumsy and...
Yes, 100%.
Go on then.
So we enjoy going to lodges,
like
for a long weekend or whatever. Or if we go like a Monday to Friday, I'll still work. But sometimes the Wi-Fi in the lodges is not very good at all.
Okay.
So my other half said you can buy a device, like a data device, mobile data device. So I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. So I went to shop in town and I explained to them what I wanted. And I explained in the way that I understood it would work, bearing in mind I'm not very good with IT. And then they sold me this device. I was like, oh, that's brilliant. That sounds really good. And it's like, well, if you don't like it, you've got 14 days to return it. So I was like, that's great. So took it home, got it all set up. And there was instructions about putting the password in so you could connect your phone to this mobile data thing. For the life of me, I could not connect it. Honestly, spent hours trying to do it. To be fair, even Dean looked at it, couldn't do it. So I thought, okay, we'll go back into town, take it to the shop and say it's not working. So we had to wait ages to be served. Said to the chap, says, look, it's not working. And he's like, well, what password are you putting in? And I was like, look, it says password. He's like, that's not the password. That was just some other random number. He typed it in, 30 seconds, done.
So how are you supposed to know what password? Do you have to make a password up?
No, it's on there. There's a sticker.
Right.
One says password and one says something else.
Right.
But the password on the sticker isn't the password.
Well,
the password is something else and the other number is the password. So I think, to be fair, that's not a jazzer.
No, I think I'm confused just listening to you. I don't get what happened.
No. I put the wrong number in.
Did I tell you about the time that I bought a keyboard and mouse for my new computer?
And you threw it out the window. You wanted to throw it out the window?
Well, no, that was the new PC. New laptop,
okay.
yeah.
Go on then.
So obviously now they're all wireless, aren't they? So I get home and I unpack it out the box. Everything's this is going to be brilliant. Wiggle my mouse, nothing's happening. So I look at the instructions, and you're supposed to have like a little
red light.
No, like a dongly bit, like a USB thing that you put in.
Oh yeah.
Well, where the hell's that? There's some trundle all the way back down to Curry's, and they say, just give me the mouse, and it's literally like a little bit under the mouse, and you press it and it out this thing. So I did a jazzer.
You did a jazzer.
You did a
jazz. I think that's an easy mistake to make. I think
maybe. So I'm just looking at my phone because I want to introduce our guest this week, our very esteemed guest. So I'm going to read his bio from his LinkedIn profile.
Very long, isn't it?
It is. So our guest is the Deputy Lieutenant. I always want to say Lieutenant because it's spelled Lieutenant, but it's Lieutenant, isn't it?
I thought it was Lieutenant.
It's Lieutenant.
Well, we'll ask our guest in a minute.
Of Leicestershire and ex-Justice of the Peace. Family man married with 3 children. Been resident of Leicestershire for over 40 years, in which time he has gained significant experience in the business and management sectors, operating a successful business in the textiles industry. He has also served for over 40 years as a volunteer and community advocate of local, regional, national and international renown. His bid to become Police and Crime Commissioner for Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland is a natural progression of his work within the criminal justice system as a community advocate, a service which he has dedicated himself to an outstanding degree of excellence for the past 15 years. Our guest is a pioneer and leader who inspires all around him. His leadership style has galvanised unity and togetherness in individuals and communities. His ability to bond diverse communities here and abroad has received support and recognition. He is able to balance persistence and patience to achieve outcomes and does win hearts and minds.
Wow.
My bio on LinkedIn says I'm Vickki and I'm a lawyer. How amazing is that? Welcome, Suleman Nagdi.
Hi, good afternoon.
I feel like we
Good afternoon.
We have a celebrity in our presence.
Absolutely. That's a massive accolade of literally your life, isn't it?
It's surprising what £20 can buy.
Was that done by AI?
Exactly. Well, there was no AI at that point anyway, in life, 40 years ago. But
Wow.
That's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot to be proud
Very,
of.
very busy.
no, thank you very much. It's been a very long journey. It's coming on to 50 years. In fact, next year I'll be
Okay.
50 years in this country. Of which
Wow.
40 years been dedicated to serving the community, various charities in this city, expanded nationally, and then, of course, at a European level. This year,
Wow.
the LinkedIn talks about international
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Some of it is as far away as Australia, South Africa, the United
Wow.
States. So there has been
Jesus.
other extension of the work. Something I had never planned for. Something.
So
I
how did this all come about then?
just- well, it's surprising how things like an acorn then grows into a
Yeah.
tree.
Yeah.
If I give you an example of one of the charities that I run is around death and bereavement.
Okay.
My father had passed away over the Easter period, and certainly within Islam, but not in Islam, Christianity, those that come from the subcontinent, and certainly from the Jewish community,
Yeah.
there is a need to try and put the person to rest as soon as possible.
Yes.
Now, such provisions never existed in the UK. So burials could only take place Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday generally was weddings,
Yeah.
registration of weddings, births of children, etc. Sunday, of course, everything was closed.
Yeah.
So in my case, I found myself in a situation where dad passed away. What do I do? How do I get around this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went to the registrar office, and all I seen was a phone number of an out-of-hours registrar, lived out in Wixton in Leicester. I made a call. I went down, and she said, look, all I can do is I can give you what's called a green certificate, which is
Yeah.
just to give you permission
Yeah.
for burial. But there's nothing else you're able to do with that, but I'll help you with that. So that was the first stage. She did this. I then picked this certificate up and went to the Saffron Hill Cemetery, wondering what do I do next. And I find two grave diggers sort of tending to some of the graves there, cutting the lawn, the flowers, etc. And said I needed a grave digging. And they said, well, all the equipment is locked up, but we can do it by hand. But that will cost you twice the amount of money. And I said,
Wow.
well, I'm prepared to pay twice the amount
Yeah.
of money.
Yeah.
Those days, there was no such thing as mobile phones, etc. So I had to then run off to the main road, pick up the call from the call box, ring home, say, prepare dad through the normal washing, shrouding, because within
Yeah.
our community, we don't use funeral directors per se. It's a community where everyone in the community comes together, helps and support each other.
Okay.
So what then happened is, of course, my brothers, my siblings were doing the preparation. I stood there because hoping that as soon as the grave is done, I will then go back home to pick dad up and bring him home, bring him to the cemetery. Now, at that point, I felt that if I were to leave the cemetery and see if the grave wasn't dug
Yeah.
and I was let down, what would happen?
Mm.
Nevertheless, they did do what they promised to do, and everything went quite smoothly. The next day, I go to the registration office and say, Dad's passed away, and I've come to do the full registration into the registrar. And they said, when is this going to take place? Tomorrow or the day after? I said, no, it took place yesterday. And the alarm bell started ringing
Yeah.
yesterday. There's no provisions in this country to allow burials on bank holidays or weekends.
Yeah.
And we may have to assume the body. And I said, for what reason? Because I've got a medical
Gosh,
cause of
how
death certificate,
distressing.
which is a doctor's cause of death certificate. I've got the minimum requirement by the registrar, what's it called, the green form for registration. So I've got all the paperwork in place. The only part that was missing in this big machinery, that cog, was the local authorities would not open up over the weekends.
Mm.
And at that point, they then turned around and said, well, yes, we can see there is a discrepancy within the legislation, but we can't take instructions from you. Who are you? I'm Suleman. Who's Suleman?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just a...
Do they not know who you are?
Well, at that point, of course not. How dare you?
Yeah.
Anyway, I then went around to various places of worship, knocked on doors, saying that, look, these provisions don't exist in the UK, and how are we going to start addressing these issues? We then formed and constituted ourselves, and now armed with this document that we are now a constituted body, we've got
Brilliant.
a governing document. I do have the mandate from the community to enter into negotiations with the local authority. And within a year or so, we signed the first historic document in Europe
Wow.
allowing burials to take place 7 days a week, including bank holidays, except, of course, for Christmas and
Yeah.
New Year Eve. And to me, work done.
That's
What else is
amazing.
Isn't it?
That is
But
amazing.
then
Oh.
it started the beginning of something far bigger.
Yeah.
Right.
80% of all deaths that take place in the United Kingdom is in a hospital
Mm.
Yeah.
or in old people's home. Now, you can have permission to bury 7 days a week, but if you don't have a body to bury, what do you do?
Mm.
So now started the process of negotiating with the NHS Trust to say,
Okay.
can we have body releases on weekends, evenings, bank holidays? And that in itself took nearly another 6-8 months. They finally agreed to this. Now every person that is buried has to be registered. So the registrar goes through birth,
Yeah.
death, as you no doubt know, and marriages. That possibly took us the longest period to convince the superintendent registrar to have a window opening for people to allow them the paperwork with a minimum requirement so the body can be what they call disposed of, which is not
Yeah,
a good word.
It's not a
but
nice word.
Yeah.
is
but
it?
this is
Yeah.
what they
Yeah.
would normally do. Anyway, we entered into these negotiations with them, and from there it followed that some individuals, unfortunately, if they die through suspicion,
Yeah, of course.
or
Like the
sudden death,
coroner.
then
Yeah.
the coroner has to be involved.
Mm.
At that point, we only had a part-time coroner for Leicester City. We started discussing the matters with a coroner. We eventually agreed that postmortems will only take place where there is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And I'll go into that subject a bit later, what then took place after that. And then, of course, there is where the police are involved in relation to crime, in relation to, say, something like a suicide, or as asbestos. People in medical negligence cases know some of these cases that take place from hospitals, etc.
Yeah.
Somebody passing away at home when the paramedics are there, or passing away when they arrive at accident emergency, or following an operation.
There's
where
lots of things.
where the
isn't there?
correct
Yeah.
treatment is given at that point, and this is where the law comes into it to try and safeguard those individuals. So those negotiations then started. All of a sudden, I found myself now working on issues that I had no idea about. All I wanted
Well, what
was
started as a small,
Yeah.
just
but
bury
that's
one
the
individual.
impact you have, and
Yeah.
what an absolute brilliant legacy.
Well,
You know, it's and one of many, no doubt.
well, yes, well, that was the beginning of that work around there. But of course,
Yeah.
then we had certain, if I fast forward, we had certain difficulties in this country. We had Herald shipment,
Yeah.
testification. We had the Old Hayes organ retention
Yeah.
scandal where children's organs were not put back in the body when
Yeah.
various investigations were done. Lucy Letby, just recently,
Yeah.
we know about that situation. So that arose the question about how do we deal with some of these issues. They're complex issues. So I had a meeting with the Department of Health, and they said, it's funny enough, Suleman, you mentioned this, we are looking at this particular issue, and we're going to do some trials, a 6-month trial in Wales on deathstification and see how people have passed away. And I said, why Wales? I wasn't aware that a lot of sheep needed postmortems. But
There's more than
nevertheless,
sheep in Wales to our listeners out there.
exactly. So what we then thought is, why don't we bring it to Leicester?
Yeah.
Why Leicester? Well, it's a super diversity.
Yeah.
It has a large population made up of Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Baha'i, Buddhists, and people of no faith. And it's manageable in the size that we have just over 350,000 residents here. So we'll have a good sample. So we managed to bring in a 6-month trial at the Leicester Royal Infirmary with a senior pathologist from the University of Leicester.
Yeah.
We started trials on what we call virtual autopsy, MRI, CT scanning,
Yeah.
more CT than MRI because MRI is very expensive. And we started hitting about 82-84% success rate in determining cause of death without invasive
Brilliant.
postmortems. And this will not benefit me, my community, but benefits every citizen.
Yeah.
Because why would you want your loved one to be cut open
Yeah.
when there was a simpler way of doing this?
Sure.
And so we started these trials for 6 months in Leicester. Eventually, the government accepted the results of the trials, and it spread out widely throughout the country. And I then started speaking with some of this in some of the European countries, traveled as far away as Brisbane in Australia, because they had an interest being a part of the British setup, in South Africa, and believe it or not, even at Georgetown University in Washington. So all of a sudden I seen myself traveling other parts of the world, talking about some of these issues. And then, of course, there was some confusion as to what happens to people of other faiths and no faiths. So I then decided to write a book, which I did, about 200 pages, covering the world's 8 major faiths and people of no faith. Now, it was relatively easy because I've been in the interfaith scene for 30 odd years of my life. I've done a lot of talks in churches, gurdwaras, temples, synagogue. So I had friends from the various faith communities, and of course I made contact with them, sat down for hours on end, writing, what are their particular needs. And that book now is used, it's a charity, so it's not for sale. We give it free of charge. And we pass it on to every nursing station in every hospital in the country. Medical practitioners, doctors use it. Police liaison officers use it when they meet somebody from that particular community when a death has taken place, how they deal with it. And then, of course, there's issues around, how do we deal with this whole subject? Because death is a subject that we never seem to be talk about. And
I think you're right. It's a real... And my kids are the same, really, because we talk about, I sort of say, if anything happens to me, this is where this is where that is. And, don't talk about that, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
No, it is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it really is something that we don't like to talk about, but it's probably one of the most certain things in life, isn't it? The fact that we are.
I think that's really interesting. So when my daughter-in-law, when her grandmother died, so she's Hindu, I felt like I didn't know anything really about their culture even, and I wanted to do something that showed that I was respecting that, so I had to ask around, and it's just like that book would have been really useful for me, because we don't know.
Something very simple for the Hindu community. For a Muslim, as an example I gave, when they're in hospital, they may ask for the curtains to be pulled, so you have that privacy, maybe a drink of water, somebody reciting from your holy book, the Quran, to help the passage at that point. And this is where I'm involved with Loros and Rainbow Hospices, because in fact at the moment I'm developing a toolkit for end-of-life care, and I do training to end-of-life care. So I've done some for the Royal College of Medicine in London, but now I'm working locally for the hospitals and hospices. And so for a Muslim, it could be something just as simple as somebody reciting from the Quran to help the passage. When an individual reaches the end of their life, from a clinical medical point of view, it is about pain management. It is taking 500 milligrams to 800 milligrams of morphine as an example. They're not interested in that particular point because they are either leaving the world where they are, either believing the life after or no life. But they've got loved ones, children, grandchildren, etc. around them. And that passage is quite difficult for some people to navigate. And our job should be a more holistic approach to death as opposed to the clinical way that we approach it. So for a Hindu person, example, sometimes they may say that they may want to lie down on the ground because they believe Mother Earth is part and parcel of it. So it's simple things like this.
It's that understanding, isn't it?
Exactly. And or sometimes what happens is certainly, Loros, fantastic work. I've worked with Loros and third-year medical students for many years. And the amount of support they give families.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And rainbows.
Honestly, we should not wait until we use the services. They need something like 8 to 9 million. It's
bonkers. It is absolutely bonkers,
So again, this is where the legal part comes into it. Example, a person passing away, do they have a will? If somebody has moved from one faith to the other, you just mentioned somebody from the Hindu community, do they have a statutory declaration to say what their last wishes are? How I wish my body to be handled after I pass away? We automatic, or people in cross-cultural marriages, people that revert or convert from one faith to the other, the complexity around that. And of course, power of attorney that's needed for individuals because somebody else to make. So the legal side has an important role to play on that.
I think it integrates into literally every aspect of life, doesn't it? The
100%.
legal, and I think, I mean, every day is like a day of mediation because you're always negotiating, whether it's with your grandson in terms of you come out of the cafeteria area and we can do this, or whatever it is. But you talked about writing this book. You told us earlier that you're actually writing your memoir.
I am.
I wish that my life had been so interesting that a memoir would be something.
I don't think it's going to be any bestseller. There are 2 or 3 reasons, I think, why I decided to write one. One, I have 7 grandchildren, and I love them. And
being a grandparent's the best.
3 of them live where I live, and that is not because in a traditional Asian family, children used to live with their parents. That is no longer the case.
Okay.
But for some unknown reason, my youngest son, who's a police officer, and his wife, 3 children, when they got married, I said, we have to look for a house. We'll help you with a mortgage. We'll help you with a deposit, etc. And she said, no, Dad, I'm not leaving you.
Oh.
Now, this is not my son, of course. Your
this is
blood.
Your daughter-in-law.
It's my daughter-in-law. So how fortunate am I?
Absolutely.
How
That's
fortunate
lovely.
am I that in this day and age, and they live together. But what I've done is because I'm privileged that I have sort of a 4-bedroom bungalow, which the children have their own rooms, and we had a double garage. So what I then did was convert that into a granny annex.
Wow.
So I still give them their privacy.
Yeah.
I still run away.
So
to
are you in the granny annex?
I'm in the granny annex, despite the fact that I own the main house and I paid for it.
I love it.
And the grandchildren keep running there, and they try to jump into bed and open the fridge and the freezers and take the ice cream and the sweets and everything else. It's a privilege grandparents have of spoiling.
Yeah, 100%.
And my children often say that, you were quite strict with us.
I used to say that to my mum, and why are you so different with the grandkids? And I'm exactly the same.
It's so different, isn't it? It
But
really is.
But there's a reason for this. It's the issue of capital and interest. Your children are your capital.
Yeah.
And the grandchildren is the interest on the capital.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that.
So people tend to like interest more than the capital sum.
Yeah.
So this is why you tend to always move towards
I think we just do all the fun stuff, though. We don't have to worry about all the discipline.
Responsibility.
Exactly. And give them back to the parents at bedtime, and they can do the
hard stuff.
bathing and reading and everything else. And your hands
we've done
are
all
clear.
that, haven't we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've done all of that.
Yeah.
Anyway. But no, it's not only that. I think the older you become, what tends to happen is you start living the life of your grandchildren through your children's eyes, because what you never had time for your children. You're too busy working, running around. I mean, in my case, as an example, many years ago, it was 2002, when, of course, I was honored with the MBE through the Queen.
Of course.
And one of the issues that was marked on the day was, what do you think about getting the MBE? And I said, truly speaking, I think it should belong to my wife and as opposed to me. And they said, why? And I said, well, look, I've worked from 7, 8 o'clock in the morning till 7, 8 o'clock at night. Most of my voluntary work, of course, at the moment I'm retired, but at that point I didn't, was from, say, after office hours until late night, towards 9, 10 o'clock. So who's made the sacrifices of not having a husband at home, not having a father at home, food getting cold and rewarming it? So the true sacrifice has been given.
I love that you recognise that, though.
And that is something that I had mentioned at that particular point, that I think sometimes we forget is the stronger, the better half.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I'm sure it was a sacrifice for you, not being there for the children all the time. But I think when we talked earlier with a previous guest about she provides care facilities for people in the home. And I remember when, I think what you said there in terms of the sacrifices, etc., I think the carer sometimes gets left behind, and gets overlooked because everything is focused on the individual who's suffering, but obviously we're all suffering. But I love that you recognise that.
I'm interested in the MBE, so how did that come about then?
Well, it's rather secretive. I have no idea. I have a bit now, But at that point, I had no idea. And the reason I have a bit of an idea now is because I'm one of His Majesty's Deputy Lieutenant now. So some of the nominations come through the Lieutenancy office.
Ah,
We shift
okay.
through it. Individuals nominate people. And the ones that you feel are appropriate and in recognizing, and I think most of them are anyway, but
Yeah.
you have to draw a line somewhere. You then send it through to the Cabinet Office for their approval before it goes to the royal household.
So what did you do? Just literally get a letter through the post? And
Well,
it
the
said,
letter just came through to say that the Queen wishes to recognize you, and you can bring 3 guests with you.
oh, wow.
And one of my guests was my daughter. She was possibly around 17, 18 at that point, if I
Yeah.
can remember well. Birthdays and days I never remember, but it was around there anyway. And just before you go to get the award itself, they sort of tell you the protocol to follow.
Yes.
You walk so many steps, you turn around, you don't show your back, it's the front.
Wow, okay.
When the Queen shakes your hand and you feel the pressure on your thumb or something, your time is up.
Oh, wow.
It's not a podcast, leave, because let the next
Yeah.
person come in. So you're given all of these
Oh.
instructions. And as I walked into this grand hall, because my daughter was there, and she was being young, she said, "Oh, that's my father, that's my father."
Oh.
So the pride.
Yeah,
so-
absolutely.
But then she's my princess anyway. If you look at my phone, she's under princess. She's not under her, Yasmin has her name, it's under
Aw.
princess. So I've been so fortunate with my children that they have been part of this journey with
yeah.
me.
I bet they're
So-
incredibly proud of you. Incredibly.
I'm sure they are.
yeah.
But what I thought is, go back to the memoir.
Yeah.
What is it? Leave it for the grandchildren, their children's children. And the reason I want to capture this is I personally have never been in politics.
Yeah.
Being a deputy lieutenant, you cannot enter politics.
Okay.
So I do not enter into any political debate whatsoever. In fact, I do a lot on Facebook. I write a lot. I used to write articles for The Guardian. I used to be a first-person columnist for the Leicester Mercury for many years.
Right.
500 words, etc., but never political. And there's something from my past coming back from a country in southern Central Africa. I grew up in the twilight of the British Empire.
Yeah.
So you had what was former, what they call Nyasaland, Northern Rhodesia, and Southern Rhodesia, which is now Malawi, Zambia, and Zimbabwe.
yeah.
But the federation was all the 3 countries together. And in South Africa, my family in South Africa were part and parcel, my uncle and my aunt were part and parcel of the anti-apartheid movement. So they spent time with Nelson Mandela, the Hidden.
Wow.
In fact, my uncle used to drive into what's called the Orange Free State. It's a state within the country where anybody who is not white could not leave or enter without appropriate paperwork at the time of the apartheid time. And Mandela used to sort of come in the front there with his cap. My uncle used to sit at the back and became the chauffeur, and he used to drive through. And these are the stories from my family.
Wow.
And Mahatma Gandhi, of course, when he left the United Kingdom, when he became a lawyer here, and he spent a short time in South Africa, my granddad was with him from my mother's side.
Wow.
And the famous scene where he comes out of the train and he rips up the pass. There were special identification documents that people who are non-white had to carry. And so Granddad was then involved in the fight for independence in India and traveled with him to Delhi. So I've got a family both in India
This is fascinating.
who are
Mad, isn't it?
involved in the political struggle and South Africa. And believe it or not, I have not entered politics. So that's quite funny. In fact, people
Yeah.
often ask me why not. So I think the memoirs might be, hopefully, an inspiration for the next generation to come to say that,
Yeah.
look, there's so much fun, there's so much satisfaction one gets when you serve humanity.
Mm.
Now, when I mean humanity, I don't mean I'm serving your community. Before you are born, before I'm born, before any of us are born, we are born in a pure state.
Yes.
We don't follow faith.
Yeah.
We don't follow religion. What we do is we follow the norms of societies around us.
Mm.
So if your parents were of a particular faith or particular culture, whatever the case may be, this is what you do.
Mm.
You follow it.
Yeah.
isn't it funny that what we never had a choice at birth, that we took for granted from our parents and our siblings and all our relatives, we spend the rest of our life defending something that we never chose.
Yes,
It was
it's
given
true.
to us.
Yeah.
So I think what we need to do is we need to restore common humanity. What is it that binds us? It's our common humanity. This is what we have to do. So I'm hoping that the members of the book may inspire other people not to work for themselves, for their community, or have a very closed mind, but to say, this world is all us, you, me, all of us together.
Absolutely.
So let's work for the greater good of humanity, what it is to be British, what it is to be in this country. And for me, I have had the opportunity of traveling many parts of the world. It's only when I land back at the airport in the United Kingdom, I feel I've arrived home.
Oh, wow.
If
I can't wait to read this.
I know.
When's it going to be finished and out?
I have my daughter-in-law, who's actually head of English at a secondary school, so I've passed it to her to sort of go through all the...
So is it finished? And she's
it's finished. It's finished. I've written 52,000 words so far.
Wow.
And then I had to stop. And the reason I had to stop was that it can carry on, become 2 books and 3 books. And what does it mean? So the early part talks about my parents living subcontinent of India on a ship, maybe a month or 2 in this vessel made of steel and wood, and mother sitting, with a little what they call paraffin stove, trying to cook. Remember, this is a time we're talking about the 40s, where you never had luxury cruises, and even they couldn't afford it if there was. And then they arrive on the shores of Africa, the dark continent, with very little money. Some had borrowed money from the land that they owned back home. No language. They had no idea what it was, where they were landing, where they were going. The true pioneers. And they went through the dark part of Africa to set up home. And that's where we were all born. We were 5 brothers and 2 sisters. So in fact, funny enough, I've named the book after a particular situation that you may not be aware of, but I grew up with it. So in the early days, there was a Scottish explorer by the name of Dr. Livingstone, who went across to Africa. And he went around to various places. In fact, I think the Victoria Falls, named after our queen, that time Victoria, Tanganyika River, etc. And as he's walking through dark parts of Africa exploring, another explorer leaves the United Kingdom, England, reaches there. And he's going through the savannah, through the bushes and everything, and he comes across to David. And his famous words, Dr. Livingstone, I presume.
Yes.
So mine is Dr. Nagdi, I presume.
I've
taken it
love
from that.
it. I'm going to write that down.
That's brilliant.
So I thought maybe an appropriate title for the book. As I've charted my journey from Africa, because I lived in Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa before I came here. Of course, this country I've lived the longest. It's the journey that I've come through and how that has worked where it is.
And have you written it in terms of a story, or is it literally your life story? And
it is story with emotive language, and the reason it's been done that way is otherwise you'll read like a report. It's very cold, very clinical, and it will not capture. So I talk about the hot sun and the red sand of Africa, the smells.
So you want the feeling.
Exactly.
So you can transport yourself
exactly.
there.
It's so important.
Yeah.
So the first part, of course, is my parents' journey, my primary and secondary school, which was in former Rhodesia. The first school, of course, I went to was called Louis Mountbatten, after Earl Mountbatten of Burma. I was named after him. Morgan High School, the Polytechnic, and then I come to this country. So my early formative years, I think, were all born in Africa. Now, for me to settle in this country was not difficult. I'll tell you why. All whites and Asians who lived in Africa, who are called twice migrants, so they left from another part of the world like this country or India, were in the minority. Of course, the black indigenous population are the majority. So I lived as a minority.
Yeah.
I come here and I remain a minority. I never had to adjust myself.
Okay.
Whereas my cousins or relatives who came from the subcontinent of India, they had to adjust because they lived as a majority where they were
Yeah.
and became a minority here. Also, our school was more built on the British curriculum, our Cambridge examining board.
Okay.
I did the same Janet and John books and say Baba Black Sheep when it was collected to say black sheep.
Oh, you can't say that anymore, can we?
And exactly, and did the Lord's Prayer in assembly every morning and did Jane Eyre literature, find out much later in life that there's no such thing as a red room. So I don't know why they told us about that anyway. But that just gives you an example that we are possibly more British than we are British here.
Yes.
And the reason is at Christmas time, you know, Dad would turn on the old Valve radio and make us listen to the Queen's speech. We had to listen to the speech, the 21 gun salute. Or if you went to the court, you've seen judges with a funny horse wig hairs, etc.
Yeah.
So in every intent and purpose, we were British through and through.
Yeah.
It's just that we didn't not
live
live here.
Yeah.
So by coming to this country at that point, the legal system, constitutional law, everything was part and parcel of what was taught what was taught there, and that was the legislation in that part of the world, and it remained here. Of course, there are tweaks here and there, of course.
Well, they're always tweaking,
as they're
aren't
between
they?
England and example, Scottish law or European law. There are differences.
Yeah.
And so to settle in this country and to be part and parcel of what we call the British version, what it is to be British. And I'm not talking about eating fish and chips. I love fish and chips. In fact, it's my favorite dish. But I'm talking about this common vision that we have to have for our nation. What is it to be British?
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot more than that. It has to do with a lot of these things. And sometimes some people are ill-equipped. The reason being is because they come from a part of the world, wherever the good or the bad of the British Empire was, there's a certain skill base that you picked up, which you would never pick up if you did not live within that environment. And so I was fortunate in that sense that I grew up in that environment, and so made my life easy. Hence, I work, of course, with at least 6 Whitehall departments. A lot of work I do was from the Home Office, Office of Security and Counter-Terrorism. Both my sons are police officers for nearly 20 years. That was 18 and a half years. My grandson's a police officer. So it looks like law and order is, I mean, me serving as a magistrate, I think, possibly. In fact, I wrote an article, believe it or not, for the Leicester Mercury. Like I said, I used to be a first-person columnist, about 500 words. And in it, I questioned members of my community to say, the career path that you choose is often possibly encouraged by your parents. We still have that the father and the mother says, look, I think you should go down this and all that. And the encouragement that we normally get, believe it or not, is this. Son or daughter become a doctor, go live in the leafy suburb, and buy a Mercedes, you've arrived in life. Okay? Those are the pinnacle of all possible career paths.
Yeah.
Now, if you can't become a doctor, your son or daughter, become a lawyer, become an accountant, become a dentist, become possibly one of those white-collar jobs. If you fail at all of that, open a kebab shop. Not literally, but if you know what I mean. So I talked about why is it that we're always following these professions?
Yeah.
How about the police? Probation.
Yeah.
You know, there's other jobs that you can do in this country that can contribute to and possibly the police one I pushed too far because I've worked with the 5-6 chief constables of Leicester.
Right, okay.
I worked on issues of policy. I've done work and I've done talks with Interpol, the European Policing Agency, around stop and search. You know, we have a very unique system in this country, despite the fact, and it's not perfect, that sometimes we have a disproportionate number of people that are stopped from a particular community. We have that. But at least we collect the data. We say whether there's disproportion, why did you stop them, what ethnic background did they come from, what faith background they come from. Do you know places in Europe don't even have this data collection? So example, the work that I've done in France and Germany, there are people in France who are possibly from North Africa, from, say, Morocco or Algeria stop 2 or 3 times a day, every day. But because France has this system where state and religion is separated, you're not a Muslim French, you're just French.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So we don't have that separation of powers.
Yeah.
Nor do we have that. So we have some of that. But I've been involved in the issues around with the policing work, etc. here, doing policy, like I said, stop and search. But more of my work has been on counter-terrorism. So I've done some of government's policy. And I worked for a short while on something Lord Carlisle did on what they call Schedule 7 powers. These are special powers, in my opinion, personal opinion, despite I'm a strong advocate for strong laws and strong deterrence, because I've worked the police, much in the police, so I would be that anyway. But I'm concerned sometimes that sometimes your civil liberties are eroding, and if you look at through the lens of security in relation to everything that you do, you can sometimes lose this liberty that you and we all enjoy because we are taken in through this. So the Schedule 7 powers we talk about are only used at airports, ferryports, when you enter or exit the country. And the idea behind it is that once you leave that port or the airport, the normal police stop and search powers are used. But why the draconian is because your DNA can be taken, your fingerprints are taken, your photographs taken, data from your phone is taken, data from your laptop is taken. There is no judicial or ministerial overview of these powers.
Yeah.
So they're at the discretion of special branch at that particular time. So far, so good. They say they hold it for about 18 months. But the problem takes place is these findings, whatever they may be, are shared with our international partners, other countries. Now, the other countries, in my opinion, may not have the same degree of evidence gathering. So, example, if I travel somewhere and it flags up, I could be locked up and the keys thrown away.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we are not all living and fortunate to live in the UK where the law is respected by the state, by the courts, etc. And there's an independence from the executive. It's a separate arm of government altogether.
I think what we need is like 100 Sulemans.
I do, yeah.
Changing the world, because it's literally fascinating what you've done.
It's so much, isn't it?
Honestly,
so
I don't know
much.
how you fit the time in. You know, it's I'm absolutely in awe of you, and I cannot wait to read your memoir. Will you sign it for me?
Of course. Of course I would.
Brilliant.
The other work, of course, involved in is the rehabilitation of prisoners.
Okay.
I worked for a charity at Glen Parva. We look at that point, was 67% of people go to re-offend within 2 years of being released. So they are always within the criminal justice system at some point in their life. And we have to break that cycle at some point. So we have to bring them into employment, into housing, give them a purpose. Sometimes, certainly with my community, it may be with other communities, but certainly in my community that I have the greatest experience with, there is a case of denial by parents. So as an example, I'd knock at a door somewhere in Highfields and say, I came to speak about Imran or Khalid or whatever the name of the individual is, your son. And the first answer, it's not always the case, but this is like an example I'm giving you. Oh, he's not here. He's gone to India to spend 6 months. His grandma is not too well. And I'm saying, no, he's not in India. It's got nothing to do with his grandma. He's in prison. I've just visited him. I've just spent a few hours with him. Please, let us first accept the fact that there is a problem.
Yeah.
This denial will not help your son.
I think it's probably shame, isn't it? And I think as a parent, I'd probably see something like that as a failure of me as a parent, not necessarily influences and persuasions that have perhaps, or somebody's just taken the wrong road, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I recall there's a company, I think it's in Leicester, and forgive me, I can't remember the name of the company, but they focus on employing people who have been recently released from, so almost like a rehabilitation,
Sure.
you know, bringing them into the fold and sort of almost showing them the way, if you like. And I do think, you know, if somebody says, "Oh, I'm just released from prison," I think there's that natural,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah.
and I think it's hard to get over that initial reaction. And again, as a parent, I'd be like, "Oh, what did I do wrong?" Not looking at necessarily, right, okay, well, let's sit this person down.
Sure.
And so how do you work with the parents or do you work with the offenders?
I work with both.
Okay.
Especially for those that are showing signs of becoming radicalized,
Okay.
either with a faith in the background, extreme far right, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It could be animal rights, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Any extreme view of how they are still in what I would call pre-criminal stage.
Okay.
In other words, they have not committed a crime yet. They've committed some petty crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes prisons are not the best places
Yeah.
because this is where they become hardened criminals.
Yeah.
Well, they're mixing with
More
hardened
people.
criminals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is my fear that I have, that sometimes they then go in for what every crime is a crime, but some crimes are pettier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then it becomes, and so there's actually a grooming process that's taking
Yeah.
place, and they're groomed. So I work with some of these young offenders, young offender centers. Sometimes some of them are very young, to try and mentor them. Remember, all of this work that I'm talking about is all voluntary.
Yeah. Yeah.
None of this work that I talk
Gosh.
about is something that I've been
Get paid for. Yeah.
paid for, because I believe that a country that has given me so much, you need to put back into society. We cannot carry on living without having a vision for the future.
Yeah.
Visionaries are hard to come by, but we need a vision for what does our country, what will our children and their children inherit?
That's what worries me.
Where there's environment, where there's social media,
Yeah.
whatever the case is, they are going through a far more difficult stage,
I agree.
especially with the cost of living so high.
Yeah.
They're finding jobs harder to come by. And all of these factors will come into it. So crime, of course, inevitably may increase. And I know this because I come from parts of Africa where law and order has broken down. Unemployment has risen. And as a result, there is more robberies, etc. And sometimes it's a matter of blame or not blame game, but it is people are hungry.
I can say it's a means to an end, isn't it?
Exactly.
You have to do. Some people have to do this to survive.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I could literally talk to you for hours.
I just want to say, do you think removing the youth centres that we used to have has had an impact?
Yes, I think
I think
they've
so.
all had impact. Sometimes I think we are very short-sighted in what we do. And the problem is this, and I'm not being critical of any particular government, so I'm not entering the political field, but most governments, no matter from which color they come from, they think for the next 4 or 5 years until the next election. Right? We need people to think for the next 20 years, 30 years, what is this country going to be like?
Definitely.
Many young people, and I'm not stereotyping, sorry if it sounds that way, are very binary in their thinking. It's right, it's wrong, it's positive, it's negative. And there's a massive complexity and grey area in between all of this that we don't seem to enter into that conversation. And I think we need to.
Yeah.
So I think what's happened also is I think the educational system I've seen is totally different to the education that I received, though it was a British educational system. We had a more, how can I put, a more rounded education.
Yeah.
So we did the various subjects, which of course the core subjects, English, maths, science, but arts, crafts, everything, history, geography, everything was part and parcel of it. Today, a lot of the education is specific to a particular skill base that the person will go through. So if they take science and they maybe go into biology or become a doctor or into pharmacist, into pharmaceuticals, whatever it is, but they have no idea of geography. And I know this because all my children are graduates.
Yeah.
But when I speak to them about geography or history, they are totally lost. And I'm thinking, but you went through the university system. How come you don't know? And I can see what's happening. We are creating a group of people to fit a particular job as opposed to rounding them up. And I think that's needed also.
Yeah. So we've come to the part in our podcast now where every podcast episode we talk about 2 laws, one of which is true, one is false. And this is the part in the podcast episode where we talk about the 2 laws that we had previously, where we asked our listeners whether it was true or false. We're going to ask you the same thing. So the 2 laws from our last episode, under Section 33 of the Environmental Protection Act 1990, throwing cuttings of a neighbour's overhanging tree branch constitutes fly tipping and or trespass. So that's number 1. Is that true or false?
And the next one is, in the UK, a premise can be legally defined as a brothel if it has 3 or more sex workers in it at any given time.
So which do you think is true and which do you think is false?
Right. The first one, I think what comes over into your yard, you are allowed to cut.
Okay.
And for me, that's straightforward. So I don't know if that answered the one. The second question is just a wild guess. I have
no inside knowledge at all.
And I have no speciality in that particular world or that field. And I would say yes.
You think that one's true?
I think it's true. But again, like I said, it's a pure...
Okay. So the true law, it's the throwing cuttings, isn't it? Just had a moment. So the true law is that it can, so you can cut overhanging branches, but it could be considered to be fly tipping or trespass if you throw those cut off branches into the neighbour's land. There you go. So we also have, from our previous guest, a couple of questions to ask you, and then we are going to ask you to pose a question for our next guest. So we have 2 questions because our last guest, Lisa, was a bit greedy, wasn't she? I think because she was asked 2 questions because the last episode before her was 2 guests.
Yeah, could have been. Yeah.
So Lisa asked, you do this one because you made a proper note of it. I just made jotting notes.
So if and when you can no longer manage, so that's looking after yourself at home, you're cleaning of yourself and cooking and things like that, would you prefer to stay in your own home with one-to-one care or move into supported living?
It's quite a heavy question.
It is a heavy question. It's geared to what she does, though, isn't it?
Right. I don't think there's a right and wrong answer.
No,
there isn't.
And I'll tell you why.
This is your what would you
my,
want?
my view is people feel the dignity is better preserved in their own home. However, what outweighs that is safety. So if they're in the home and say they leave a cooker on, something that's of a danger, then there could be a danger. In that case, assisted or moving out would be better for them for their safety reasons. So one is around dignity versus
it's getting
safety.
That balance, isn't it?
And so I think every individual case would be different.
Absolutely.
Depending if it's somebody who...
On what the issue is.
Yes, and we have dementia increasing now. And if people forget these things, then could there be a danger to self and other people? So I would think it depends on circumstances.
At the time.
And like I said, one size fits all is not the case. And this is why the law is very complex and people need to understand this, that by what was good for one person, not necessarily, and this is why they need to take proper legal advice to find out what is appropriate for their set of circumstances.
Which is what we were saying earlier, isn't it? So Lisa's second question is, what is your favourite type of holiday? That's a much more light-hearted question.
Anywhere where the sun shines when I pull the curtains open. I travel quite frequently to Spain. Portugal. Portugal is because my wife's Portuguese by background.
Okay.
So
I love
her
Portugal.
first language is Portuguese. So she grew up in Portugal. I don't think she's fully British. The reason being is, I mean, she's lived here 50 years. I mean, my children are born here. Is because she thinks tea smells and she only has coffee and that is her European background. And she says, how can you eat fish and chips? Fish is supposed to be grilled and not put in batter and put in a fry. So when we go out, I will go for the fish and chips, and she'll go for grilled fish. I'll go for tea because I'm British through and through, a good old Yorkshire.
Yeah, love it.
And she'll go for coffee. So again,
Brilliant.
sunshine where we go, as long as both these things are taken account of,
Brilliant.
we're happy.
I think I'm with you on that. I think the sun being able
Makes you happier,
to,
doesn't it?
yeah, I think for me, literally taking time out and relaxing, and it being not forced, because that sounds like you have to force me to go on holiday, but the fact that you have no option and you don't feel guilty about not picking up the laptop or not picking up the Hoover, whatever. So what's your question for our next guest? It's going to be something really philosophical now.
It will be.
No. I'll try and make it more possibly law-based.
What are you saying about our guest, Suleman?
Okay. We often hear the case of trespass.
Yeah.
How is trespass understood by individuals? Because if trespass is absolute, then is there provision when the postman walks up your garden path and puts a letter in through your letterbox? Are they technically trespassing or not?
That's a good question. Very good question.
I might actually elaborate on that when we talk about trespass then.
Okay.
That's obviously in my field.
It is, yes.
Well, Suleman, it has been absolutely wonderful speaking to you. We're going to just finish our interview with you on the 2 laws for the listeners for next episode.
Yes.
You can give your
thought
on it, but we won't reveal the answer until the next episode.
So I'll do the first one. Yeah?
Yeah, because yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this is under the definition of the Theft Act 1968. So if you go into a shop and you pay for something and you're given the incorrect amount of change and then you keep that, is that theft?
Okay. Under French law, it's a criminal offence to leave an unopened but not yet empty bottle of wine on a restaurant table after purchase.
Do you mean opened bottle of wine? Because it can't be empty.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Opened bottle of wine, not yet empty. Yes.
I
mean, who would do that?
Yeah. Leftover wine. So that's the 2 laws. Which of those do you think is true? We're not going to reveal the answer.
No.
When we're off air, we can do that. But
I would think your question, I don't think is theft, because what was the intent? Intention or intent has to be there.
Okay.
So when you go and steal something, you have an intention to steal. This is a mistake done by the shopkeeper. Why am I held responsible for somebody else's mistake? That's one.
Okay.
The other one, I'm a Muslim, I don't drive, so wine is not a question for me. And I'll be driving anyway. No, I would think that to leave it open would contravene it, because we don't know what is there.
Okay.
So that is my...
Okay. Well, Suleman, thank you very much.
Thank
it's
you
been
very
an
much.
absolute pleasure.
It has.
I can't wait to read the memoir. I'm going to make a note of that, and I'm going to... when do you think it'll be released?
It'll be released in possibly 2 or 3 months.
Oh, wonderful.
And the reason I'm allowed to use the word Dr. Nagdi, I presume, is recently I've just had a Doctor of Laws.
I saw that.
From the University of
Yes,
Leicester.
I saw
So
that.
If I put in brackets as an honorary one, and I'm not a witch doctor really, I might get away
Rubbing
with
shoulders with the elite now, Geraldine.
Wow. That's another thing to add to his list.
Yeah. So we're going to end the podcast, as always, with a very deep and meaningful
thought for the day
from Jez's Pink Book.
Okay, so here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Every great structure, whether it's a cathedral or a statue, is built on the strength of its foundation, which is always beneath the surface and rarely seen. So your quiet, consistent efforts, the habits you keep, the beliefs you nurture, and the values you uphold are the true invisible source of your power and strength.
Love it. They are really quite
profound.
thought-provoking.
They are, aren't
Quite
they?
surprised. I would have thought
Did you think it was going to be something stupid?
they would use now.
Oh.
They use an analogy of a tree with these roots.
With
Yes,
roots,
that's
yeah.
the same thing.
strongest,
The
a strong,
foundations,
a
yeah.
strong
Yeah.
trunk, strong
Yes.
body, and then the branches and the fruit
Yes.
Yeah.
it produces. But then also remember, a good tree produces good fruit. Passage from the Bible, and a bad tree will produce
Bad fruit.
Absolutely.
So a lot depends on that.
Yes.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure
It
to see
has.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
all
very
today.
much.
As always, please like, follow, share our podcast on all your platforms.
Including YouTube.
We are now on YouTube.
We are.
Yeah. If any of our listeners have any questions for us, you can email us at the Lawfully Yours podcast at gmail.com. We are both on LinkedIn, aren't
We are.
we?
And Facebook.
Yeah. So I've been Vickki Ridgway,
And I've been Geraldine Watson.
and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.